A man from Des Moines, Iowa, was arrested on New Year's Day 2019 following a bizarre attack at a Quick Trip. At around 3 a.m., the Des Moines Police Department received a call from a cashier who reported that he was being chased around the store by a man who was subsequently identified as 26-year-old Rogelio Tapia. The latter threw several items at the worker, causing $1,000 in damages to the store in the process. Among the products Tapia had weaponized was also a banana, which he'd used to assault the clerk. Responding officers arrested Tapia on charges of assault on persons in certain occupations, simple assault, interference with official acts, and third-degree criminal mischief. The situation's ridiculousness became the inspiration for a meme, which the Des Moines Police Department later posted on its Facebook page. It showed a photo of two straight-faced officers, presumably the pair who'd responded to the incident, and it was captioned, "That face you make when you're being sent to help a man being assaulted with a banana." Number 7. Grocery store incident. In the summer of 2023, a woman went on a rampage inside a grocery store somewhere in the US while fully naked. Footage captured by distraught employees showed her rummaging through the store, damaging items and smearing cake frosting on her naked body. She also threw pastries on the floor and smashed beer bottles. One employee was recorded saying, "Why is no one doing anything? Help!" At some point, the woman calmly went behind the bakery counter, where she continued smothering her hair and legs with cake frosting. Another worker was captured saying, "We can't do anything. The cops are on their way." It remained unclear what charges the woman faced or what her reasons had been for the store rampage. Number 6. Jenna Manley. 36-year-old Australian woman Jenna Manley went bananas at the Monkey Bar in Mandurah, roughly 40 miles south of Perth, during a singles night on Valentine's Day 2023. Manley was reportedly wearing a wedding ring, was heavily intoxicated, and according to witness statements, was hitting on a bunch of men. They were reported to have unanimously rejected her advances. Staff asked Manley to leave multiple times, and the woman eventually went berserk, striking the venue's manager in the head with her stiletto heel. She then got into her red Ford Mustang and rammed it 3 to 4 times into the bar's entrance. The vehicular attack was captured on surveillance cameras and cell phone footage from terrified staff and patrons. Manley briefly got out of the Mustang, threw up her middle fingers and yelled, "F you!" before speeding away. Local law enforcement followed the trail of destruction to the woman's home. Manley was captured on video as she was arrested in her driveway, roughly 6 miles from the bar. She was charged with 6 offenses, including common assault, reckless driving, unlawful act or omission with intent to harm, and criminal damage or destruction of property. Through her lawyer, the woman claimed that her behavior had stemmed from her drink being spiked at the Monkey Bar. Number 5. JH Shin. In January of 2023, New Jersey woman JH Shin was arrested after pretending to be a freshman at New Brunswick High School and attending classes for 4 days. 29-year-old Shin provided the school district a fake birth certificate in order to enroll before she was discovered and arrested. Shin spent several days at the high school where she was seen in the classroom and walking the halls. The woman even texted a number of female students asking them to hang out at Commercial District, but none of them took her up on the offer. One student reported that she started acting weird with them in the aftermath. Suspicions began to arise after Shin was unclear regarding the identity of her legal guardians and failed to provide necessary documentation. The ruse further unraveled when she was prevented from signing out of school due to her supposed minor status, at which point the frustrated woman revealed her real age. She was eventually arrested and charged with 1 count of providing a false government document. Her purpose for the fake identity scheme remained unclear at first, but her behavior led many to suspect that she wasn't fully in charge of her mental faculties. Several New Brunswick high school students reported that they didn't feel safe at school anymore, and some feared that Shin had been aiming to lure them into human trafficking. However, it emerged in court that the woman had actually been trying to relive her high school days. Shin, a South Korean national, had traveled to the US alone in her mid-teens to attend a private boarding school. Her defense lawyer argued that she was lonely and missed the school atmosphere, which led to her enrolling at New Brunswick High School. Prior to the ruse, she went through a bitter divorce, was unemployed, and was being sued by her landlord after falling roughly $20,000 behind on rent payments. Shin admitted that she'd made a mistake and ultimately avoided jail time. According to updates from May of 2023, she was ordered to take a mental health test, pay fines, and had the option of enrolling in a pretrial program. Number 4. John Manley. In February of 2020, English digger driver John Manley was jailed for 5 years and 4 months at Liverpool Crown Court for leaving what was described as a trail of destruction at the Travel Lodge construction site where he'd been employed in January of 2019. As construction was nearing completion, Manley threatened his site manager that he would damage the building if he wasn't paid what he was due. The 36-year-old was reportedly owed £600 in wages and hadn't received any money over the Christmas period, which reportedly resulted in him being unable to spend time with his children. The site manager believed that Manley was making empty threats, and thinking he would diffuse the digger driver's anger, he bought him a sandwich and made him a cup of tea. 2 hours after a meeting, on January the 21st, Manley got into the digger and plowed through the hotel's front doors. He destroyed the ceiling, wiring, and structure of the buildings. As colleagues recorded him and pleaded with him to stop, Manley refused to do so, allegedly shouting from the digger, "All you had to do was pay me." Footage of the rampage went viral, and Manley was reported to have caused nearly £500,000 in damage. He was arrested and subsequently pleaded guilty to damaging property and being reckless as to whether life was endangered. Number 3. Trevian Couti. 51-year-old Trevian Couti, the former publicist of hip-hop and fashion mogul Kanye West, went viral on August 25th of 2023 after her mugshot was posted online. According to jail records from Fulton County, Georgia, Couti was charged with violating the state's Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, conspiracy to carry out solicitation of false writings and statements, in addition to influencing witnesses. The allegations stemmed from the Chicago-based publicist's efforts to overturn the 2020 United States presidential election in Donald Trump's favor. 18 other suspects were charged following an official investigation. Couti was pictured staring into the camera with her head tilted forward, eyebrows raised, and baring her teeth in an ear-to-ear smile. Netizens labeled her demeanor as creepy, with some comparing it to that of Pennywise, the clown from Stephen King's horror classic It. Others wrote that Couti looked like a real-life jump scare or like she was in need of exorcism. The woman was accused of visiting Fulton County election worker Ruby Freeman at her Cobb County home in January of 2021, pretending to be a crisis manager. Couti pressured Freeman into falsely admitting to have participated in election fraud, threatening her to bring people to her house if she didn't confess. Couti was recorded as telling the election worker, "I cannot say what specifically will take place. I just know that it will disrupt your freedom and the freedom of one or more of your family members." Today's topic was inspired by Donnie Higgins 823. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Stuart Williamson. Englishman Stuart Williamson met his partner Diane Douglas in 1986, and the couple went on to work together for 35 years at the Norfolk and Suffolk NHS Foundation Trust. As reported by those familiar with their relationship, Williams was a creep and a womanizer who'd left Douglas multiple times for other women throughout their relationship. She, however, took him back every time. Colleagues at the NHS Trust, where Williamson worked in a managerial capacity, described the man as a narcissistic sociopath with a very big ego who exhibited total disdain towards patients. Williamson and Douglas's relationship broke down in 2011, 4 years after the woman was diagnosed with Huntington's disease. By 2016, she was retired and impaired due to her condition, which affected her ability to walk and talk. At the time, she was back living with Williamson in a rented farmhouse in Colton, near Norwich. In December of 2018, while they were both sitting in the garden, Williamson grabbed a log and bashed Douglas's head multiple times until she was dead. He then placed her body in a wheelbarrow and took it to the garage before burying it in the garden. During the 19 months that followed, Williamson used Douglas's phone to send messages to the woman's family, maintaining the illusion that she was alive. He texted them on holidays and birthdays, in addition to making plans to meet before cancelling at the last minute. The man, who was at the time in his mid-50s, pocketed Douglas's NHS pension, disability benefits and savings. Bank records showed him transferring vast sums from her account to his. Williamson, who'd been released from his job in 2012, used Douglas's money to fund a lavish lifestyle. Social media photos showed him playing cricket and vacationing in tropical destinations in the aftermath of her death, while describing himself as happily retired. One Facebook selfie showed the man seemingly with a fresh tan as he was chomping down on a cigar. He was eventually arrested in November of 2021 after one of Douglas's relatives alerted the police. Williamson admitted to his partner's killing, telling officers he must have picked up a log and hit her with it, but claimed to have no memory of the attack. He then took the police to the place where he'd buried Douglas. Williamson would intentionally avoid facing justice from his partner's murder, as he was found dead while on remand on December the 29th of 2021. If you thought these stories couldn't get crazy enough, then you won't believe what we've got in store for you in When Surprises Go Wrong. Coming up right after number one. Number 1. Bryant Rivera. 30-year-old Bryant Rivera, a resident of Downey, California, was arrested on July the 6th of 2023 in the US as he was suspected of having killed exotic dancer Angela Carolina Acosta Flores during a trip to Mexico. The woman had been strangled to death and her body was found at the Las Cascadas Hotel in Tijuana in January of 2022. She was reported to have met Rivera at her workplace, the Hong Kong Gentlemen's Club, which was close to the hotel where her body was found. Flores sometimes also worked as an escort, and she texted her mother that she was taking a client to a room at the hotel at around 10:15 p.m. on January the 24th. Her mother texted her back half an hour later, but received no answer. When 20-year-old Flores' boyfriend went to the bar in the early hours of January the 25th, staff told him that Flores had left with a gringo named Bryant Rivera. The duo was captured on Las Cascadas security cameras entering the building. When Flores' boyfriend and mother went to the hotel's reception for further information, they learned that she'd been killed. As indicated by border control records, Rivera crossed into the US through the San Isidro port of entry on foot shortly after midnight on January the 25th. Once he was arrested in the US and with extradition proceedings commencing, law enforcement in Mexico revealed that Rivera was a suspect in the killing of at least 2 other dancers from the Hong Kong club before and after he targeted Flores, as reported by Zeta Tijuana on August the 30th of 2021. Rivera had strangled and beaten to death another escort of whom he was a regular client. Days later, her body was found bundled in a trash bin. Roughly 3 weeks after Flores was found dead, 25-year-old Elizabeth Martinez Cigarroa went on a Valentine's Day date with an American believed to have been Rivera, whom she'd met at the Hong Kong club. Her body, which exhibited obvious signs of violence, was discovered in her abandoned truck on February the 17th. Baja California authorities compared Rivera to notorious American serial killer Ted Bundy, noting he displayed similar violent and psychopathic psychopathic behavior. According to updates from mid-August of 2023, Rivera was investigated in connection to a fourth killing, which had occurred in similar circumstances to the previous 3 to which he was tied. Number 8. Prila Lot. On September the 6th of 2013, a teenager from Colorado was accidentally shot dead by a man who was house-sitting for her family. 18-year-old Prila Lot's family had moved, and friend Nerick Galley, aged 21, was keeping an eye on the recently vacated home. At the time, he was playing video games with Lal's 15-year-old brother, Pranil. Just before 8 p.m., Lal and her 12-year-old cousin decided to sneak inside the house and surprise them. Galley heard noises in the home and grabbed his gun, also providing a firearm to Pranil. They went to investigate the source of the commotion. The pair believed that an intruder had broken in, presumably after learning that the home was empty. They passed by a closet, at which point Lal jumped out and screamed. She'd meant it as a harmless prank, but Galley was startled and pulled the trigger. Lal was shot, and the others rushed her to the hospital, where she was pronounced dead about an hour later. The authorities took testimonies from all those involved, concluding that the reports were consistent with an accidental shooting. Galley had a license to carry, and Lal's family knew he was armed. He wasn't charged with her death, but instead was held on charges of reckless endangerment, child abuse, and providing a gun to a juvenile, stemming from him giving Lal's brother a weapon. Number 7. Fireball at birthday party. In April of 2018, a video of a surprise birthday party gone horrifically wrong at an Indian home started circulating online. The teenager that was being celebrated, surrounded by hydrogen-filled balloons, ignited a candle on her cake, with the tall flame reaching up to one of the balloons. It exploded, causing a chain reaction in which the others caught fire virtually at the same time. The camera's operator recorded from afar as the team was engulfed by the flames of a massive fireball. The birthday girl was then briefly captured running and screaming towards the camera, with her arms flailing in the air. In subsequent posts, the teenager was revealed to have suffered severe burns across her arms. Because the gas is so flammable, a number of countries have outlawed the use of hydrogen balloons, including the UK. Hydrogen infamously led to the 1937 Hindenburg disaster, in which it ignited and destroyed the airship in under a minute, causing the death of 35 people. The dangers of hydrogen-filled balloons were reflected by another serious incident that occurred in September of 2020 in India, during a birthday party gathering in Chennai, honoring the 70th birthday of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The organizers had planned a surprise release of up to 2,000 balloons. As the preparations were being filmed, roughly 100 balloons were ignited by a firecracker spark. A giant fireball erupted, causing people to flee for their lives, several of them with their hair on fire. At least a dozen of those in attendance were reported to have been hurt in the flash blaze. Number 6. Christopher Bergen. 37-year-old Christopher Bergen arrived to Florida from Norway in the evening of October the 1st of 2019. From the airport, he went straight to the Gulf Breeze home of his father-in-law, Richard Dennis, to surprise him for his 61st birthday. Unbeknownst to Bergen, earlier in the evening, his spouse's father had gotten into an argument with another relative who'd loudly banged on his front door. Dennis went outside and ran that person off, but about 2 hours later, at 11:30 p.m., heard the same type of banging at his back door. He turned on the back porch lights, and as he emerged from his residence with a .380 caliber semi-automatic firearm, heard growling in the bushes nearby. Moments later, Bergen jumped from the shadows, hoping to surprise Dennis. In doing so, he scared his father-in-law into releasing a round from his weapon that struck him in the chest. Upon realizing what had happened, Dennis immediately called 911, then grabbed some towels and fruitlessly tried to stop Bergen's bleeding. Unfortunately, he'd been shot in the heart and died on the spot. Santa Rosa County Sheriff Bob Johnson told the media that no charges were warranted in the case, as the shooting had been entirely accidental. Number 5. Steven Weber. On September the 19th of 2019, Steven Weber and his girlfriend, Kanisha Antoine, were at the Manta Resort, a luxury establishment found over 800 feet into the Indian Ocean, off the shore of Tanzania's Pemba Island. The resort, anchored to the seafloor by cables, gave its guests a chance to spend time in underwater rooms with large windows that offered views of the marine life. While Antoine sat in one of the said rooms, she saw Weber swimming outside of it. The 40-year-old then pressed a handwritten note which had been placed in a plastic bag to the window. It read, "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you, but everything I love about you, I love more every day." Weber then flipped the note to reveal a surprise marriage proposal. He then pulled out a jewelry box from his swim trunks and opened it to reveal a ring. In the video-recorded proposal, Weber then swam up out of frame, while Antoine headed to the resort's upper decks expecting to meet him. Unfortunately, the man never surfaced. His girlfriend tried to phone and radio for help but couldn't reach resort personnel. She eventually managed to flag down a passing boat and its occupants recovered Weber from the ocean. They performed CPR but were ultimately unable to revive him. Weber was described as a strong swimmer who'd gone snorkeling multiple times, and his family struggled to understand what had happened to him after he disappeared from Antoine's view. The leading theory was that after freediving an estimated 10 feet and presenting the surprise, he'd experienced a blackout from the lack of oxygen and drowned. Heartbroken, Antoine confirmed his demise in a Facebook post, also revealing that her answer to the proposal would have been a million times yes. Number 4. Avalisa Morris. In February of 2011, Avalisa Morris, aged 26, had thrown a surprise birthday party for a friend at an Albany home in the Queensborough of New York City. The woman, originally from Westmoreland, Jamaica, had spent the entire day preparing traditional dishes for the friends and family expected at the event. Many of those invited worked together at a nearby shopping mall, and as reported by one attendee, none had known criminal connections. In the early hours of February the 7th, the boisterous atmosphere was interrupted as fighting erupted. O'Neill Mears, aged 23, had arrived at the party reportedly uninvited and slapped his girlfriend following an unspecified argument. He then started fighting with another man, named as Nicholas Allen. Morris intervened and threw both of them out of the party. Afterwards, she stood by the door to make sure they wouldn't return. They banged and pushed on the door but couldn't force their way back inside. It's believed that Mears and Allen had continued to brawl outside before 2 gunshots rang out. The rounds pierced through the door, striking Morris in the head and abdomen. Her sister found her lying on the floor just inside the doorway, unresponsive. She died at the scene. After being found guilty of manslaughter, Mears and Allen were sentenced to 15 years in prison in December of 2014. Number 3. Fburg cake explosion. A girl in her early teens and her parents were injured following a low-level explosion in Carroll County, Maryland, in August of 2011. The incident occurred amidst a birthday party for the teenager at the family's Fburg residence. As the surprise cake was brought out, someone had accidentally put fireworks on it, presumably having mistaken them for candles. The pyrotechnics exploded as soon as they were lit, with the blast affecting all 3 family members. They were taken to the hospital and later pronounced to be in good condition. Local authorities investigated the matter, but no foul play was suspected. Number 2. Bethany Lot. A surprise marriage proposal on a mountaintop in North Carolina ended in tragedy in June of 2010. The hike to Max Bald Patch, a 4,600-foot mountain on the Tennessee border, was one that 25-year-old Bethany Lot had been wanting to take ever since she'd first started dating Richard Butler, aged 30. The man knew that Lot wanted to get married on the mountain and had planned to propose to her once they reached a popular summit that offered stunning panoramic views of the surrounding landscape. They'd ignored electrical storm and rain warnings to make the climb. During the hike, before Butler could produce the ring, the couple was struck by lightning. Lot was a few feet in front of him on the incline and was hit first with the electrical arc, then jumping to Butler as well. By his account of the incident, he was spun around and thrown several feet back. He suffered third-degree burns, couldn't move his legs properly, and felt like his feet were on fire. Butler crawled to Lot, who was lying unresponsive on the ground. He performed CPR on her for 15 minutes and tried to phone for help, but the call wouldn't go through. Butler's legs were still too weak from the shock sustained in the lightning strike to carry his would-be fiancée down. He jumped in his vehicle and asked for help at the first driveway. Rescuers eventually made their way to her, but Lot couldn't be saved. The woman's last words to Butler reportedly had been, "Look how beautiful it is," and he placed a ring on her finger as the paramedics tried to revive her. Number 1. Evan Thomas Silva. In February of 2021, a man died following the explosion of a cannon-like contraption at a gender reveal party in Genesee County, Michigan. The deceased, Evan Thomas Silva, aged 26, was a friend of the expecting parents. The device, which the homeowner had purchased at an auction, was similar to a signal cannon and designed to create a big flash, loud noise and smoke without actually firing a projectile. It was meant as a surprise announcement of the baby's pending arrival. Silva was standing roughly 10 to 15 feet from it as the fuse was lit before the cannon then exploded, sending shrapnel flying in all directions. Metal fragments struck Silva in the chest, inflicting critical injuries. He was rushed to the Hurley Medical Center in Flint, where he was subsequently pronounced dead. As reported by explosive and firearms specialists, the blast could have resulted from the wear and tear of the cannon itself, but also from the wrong quantity or type of gunpowder used. It would have thus turned the contraption into a fragmentation bomb. No one else at the gender reveal party was hurt, but several cars were damaged by the metal shards. Thanks for watching. Would you rather run through rush hour traffic wearing a banana suit or eat nothing but bananas for a month? Let us know in the comments section below.